Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm here to give you guys my review for The Walking Dead Season 8, Episode 4. And this episode is called Some Guy, which kind of fits the title of the episode because that's kind of what the storyline is involved with. And this episode came out on November 12th, 2017. And I do got to admit, this was a great episode. Um, this episode I thought really was great. 8 out of 10. I'm just going to say that right now. And the reason why I thought it was a great episode was because it actually had a storyline where it really focused on one storyline, and it actually kind of gave us a little bit of a background into Ken Ezekiel in this episode. We already kind of knew what it was, but it kind of gave us like a different kind of look at Ken Ezekiel that we never really saw before, and I loved it. So I'm just gonna kind of start talking about it. So this episode starts off with a flashback showing Ken Ezekiel preparing for war with the Saviors. This was obviously, before everything, all the events that took place in Season 8. I'm assuming the timeline of this was probably around Season 7. That's what I'm assuming. So I enjoyed this. Yeah, Ken Ezekiel kind of gears up for war, and she wants to be loved. Yeah, Ken Ezekiel gears up for war, and yeah, he gears up for war. Sorry, I keep repeating myself because I got lost my train of thought. And he kind of rallies his people, talking about how we're gonna go to war, but yet I laugh, and I really enjoyed that. He kind of wanted some bravery to happen with Benjamin's son. And he kind of, what I like about Ken Ezekiel is he gives faith to people. And I really enjoyed that. And that was kind of what it was. He wanted to give a speech giving faith, saying that we've all fought through harder troubles. And I did kind of show, and it did show like the civilians from the kingdom kind of saying goodbye to their loved ones, like it's going to be the last time they see them. And then like it shows everybody like huddling up into a group, and Ken Ezekiel kind of like rallies the troops together. And what I liked is when it transitioned to the next scene, it showed the scene where like everybody was piled up right onto Ken Ezekiel. From them, they were protecting him, and they were all dead. And then Ken Ezekiel like pops right out, and we find out that he can't walk because that his leg was cut. So that was, I thought, a really good kind of like transition. And everybody starts to get reanimated from like Ken Ezekiel's past. And Ken Ezekiel can't shoot them, and he can't stand up, and his weapons are out of bullets. And then it cuts to the theme song. And Ken Ezekiel does find a gun that has one bullet in it, and he uses it. But then when he tries to use it on the other walkers, they're already long since dead. And then what happens is one of Ken Ezekiel's men did survive, and he tries to get Ken Ezekiel to safety. But then what happens is one of the saviors comes out and kills that person and forces Ken Ezekiel to walk with him. And what he's going to pretty much do to Ken Ezekiel is he's going to force him to help the saviors fight off the walkers back at the sanctuary by using him to kind of help hurt his people. And Ken Ezekiel at first refuses. He doesn't want to get up and walk and be used to hurt his people. But then the Savior admits, saying that you're not really much of a kin. You put your people in danger by causing them to get killed, all to protect you. And all you are is some guy. Everything you've done is smoke and mirrors. If you didn't have Shiva, which is the tiger, then you would be nothing. And he forces him to get up, and he forces him to take his sword, because like his cane, because that's how he walks. And then eventually, when they get to the west outpost, Ken Ezekiel cuts him, but it wasn't enough to get the Savior to kill him. The Savior tackles him to the ground, forces him to take his sword, stomps on his arm and tells him that that's the only shot you're gonna get, because we're gonna get into a car and we're gonna start moving. And then he admits that the reason that Negan wants to keep Ken, Ezekiel, Rick, and Maggie alive is because they want to have him as a walker, hunt outside the sanctuary like the one walkers you've seen hunt out there. And he says, but I'll fine with killing you right here, right now. And just as he's about to do it, and Ken Ezekiel realizes his fate, Jerry comes up and chops the guy in half, which I thought looked really cool. And then he gets Ken Ezekiel to his feet, and they were trying to get into the fence, and Jerry tries to break it with his axe, but then eventually the axe completely breaks, and they kill the walkers. And Jerry keeps calling him Your Majesty, because he's a kin. And Ken Ezekiel tells him that you don't have to call me that. Like he's questioning like whether or not he wants to be a kin. And him and Jerry start to fight the walkers together. And now as all this was happening, what happens is Maggie was in this outpost trying to get the weapons. Trying to prevent the saviors from getting the weapons over to the sanctuary. And she kills a couple of them through an air duct, and then a couple of them pop out, and Maggie tries to shoot at them. And eventually, when she realizes she's outnumbered and just isn't going to be able to win, she pretends like she's going to surrender. One of the saviors, and she says that, she has other people that are out there, and I'll tell you where they are if you don't kill me. So then one of the saviors goes to check her for weapons, but then Maggie takes them, holds them hostage, and threatens to kill him if they don't lower their guns. But then what happens is the saviors shoot at him anyways, and Maggie, sorry, I got lost my Carol. I always do that. I always screw up the names, and they don't even look alike. But Carol, also, Carol then opens up the gate and lets in all these walkers. And stop it, Molly. Stop. And then all the walkers stop biting some of the saviors, but then the saviors are able to kill them. Molly. And then Carol forces one of the saviors to come out. Now, I forgot to mention in the flashback that Carol and Ken Ezekiel had a little conversation where Ken Ezekiel talked about how at first he was really weak and when he was a zookeeper, but then he made the decision to be strong when he decided to save Shiva's life. And then at that point going forward, he decided to be strong. And then he said that Benjamin's words got to him when he said that you can be a hero. And that's exactly what I'm going to start to be. I'm going to finally choose to be strong. And I kind of like this because Carol was kind of in the same position. So it's kind of like Ken Ezekiel and Carol have like the same paths with each other. So I like this overall. And yeah, it was a really good scene. But then as Carol is, getting into a shootout with these people, she sees that Ken, Ezekiel, and Jerry are in trouble. So she sacrifices, she sacrifices taking out the saviors to save Ken, Ezekiel, and Jerry by killing all the walkers. She gets the key and opens up the fence. And because of this distraction, this allows the saviors to escape with the guns. And I did like this because it kind of showed that Carol was willing to sacrifice the guns to save Ken Ezekiel. So I like this a lot. So, but then what happens is, Ken Ezekiel gets worried that they're just going to take off with their guns. But then what happens is we see Rick and Daryl have caught up to him. And they get into a shootout with him. Daryl doesn't win because he's on his motorcycle and obviously can't maintain balance on it. And eventually Daryl kills the guy on the back that had like a machine gun. And then eventually the main savior of that outpost gets into a fight with Rick, and Rick stabs him. And then the car falls down the hill. And then Rick and Daryl have won, and Rick says that like they didn't get their guns over there, and then Rick says that let's see if this asshole's still alive. So I like this scene; it was good. And then Ken Ezekiel, Carol, and Jerry are trying to get back to the kingdom, but obviously since Ken Ezekiel's having trouble walking, they have to assist him a lot. And Ken Ezekiel just wants them to leave him. He feels like they're slowing him down, but Carol's like, you don't get to make that decision because they really want to save Ken Ezekiel. Which kind of showed how much of an important key figure Ken Ezekiel was. Well, Ken Ezekiel is to the series. So they cross the river, and then Ken Ezekiel starts killing walkers, and he wants just Jerry and Carol to leave him. And Jerry says, "We're not going to leave you, Your Majesty." And then Ken Ezekiel is like, "I'm not a kid. I'm no kid. I'm just some guy," which kind of tied into the episode. And then eventually Shiva pops out and starts killing some walkers. But then eventually she gets trampled by the walkers, and they eat her alive. And Ken Ezekiel's forced to sit there and watch. And he wants to help her, but they won't let her. They hold him back, and he's forced to watch Shiva get eaten. I like this because this kind of breaks Ken Ezekiel's faith, because you're normally a pretty positive and faithful person, but this really devastated him. And then when he comes back, you just see that he's absolutely to the kingdom. You just see that he's absolutely devastated. And the same person that he told to be brave earlier in the episode, he just kind of puts his hand on his sword and just walks away. So it's going to be interesting to see what Ken Ezekiel's character is going to be like now throughout this season, now that Shiva's passed away. So I really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was a great episode, and it's probably definitely been the best episode of the season. I just think because it felt like it had a big storyline that it really accomplished. It didn't feel like this episode was really going through the motions like the other 3 episodes have been. And I enjoyed this episode. I thought it was great. So that's really it, guys. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please make sure you guys like, comment, and share this video so people will watch it. Make sure you guys subscribe to this channel for more content and click on the bell so that way every time I upload a video, you guys will get the notifications for it. Make sure you guys do the same thing for my CM Brothers YouTube channel and click on the bell for that channel so that way every time you upload a video on there, you guys will get the notifications for it. And that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.